in this EMDR session, I acknowledged for the first time that nothing makes me feel this good. And I remember saying that to you, and I broke down because it's the first time, because the term or the phrase "nothing makes me feel this good" or "feel this way" means nothing makes me feel more loved, more accepted, more euphoric, more comfortable. And I understood that to be a lie for the first time. I received the most overwhelming and clear breakthrough with you, with EMDR.
Have you been struggling with drinking alcohol and you've been trying to stop it on and off? Or do you know someone, you love someone who's been dealing with alcohol? Do you wonder, is it really possible to stop drinking? And if so, what does it take? Can EMDR help you free yourself from alcohol, your destructive relationship with alcohol? But more importantly, how do you and your life change when you make that big decision to break up with a destructive affair with your best friend, alcohol? Join me today. I have a very special treat for you. You're going to hear from a man who shares his candid story, his relationship with alcohol, how it started, and how he's been able to break free from that relationship. He's been sober for almost 2 years now. Now, to protect his identity, you won't see him in this video. I will refer to him as Joseph. And when you hear his story, I'd like you to listen with your kind heart, because those who struggle with addictions, or who used to, they deal with a lot of stigma and a lot of shame and self-judgment. So please listen with a kind heart, and I hope you enjoy the story. Thank you. So thank you, Joseph, for coming here and share with us your incredible story.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
How did your relationship with alcohol start?
I'd say that my relationship with alcohol started long before I had a drink. You know, it was going over to friends' houses in minor hockey and hockey tournaments, and seeing the dads all letting loose, people that are generally pretty stern. You know, this cultural kind of allure to alcohol. And so I always wondered, you know, what it was like. I think abnormally, in hindsight, for a young person. I'm just thinking, like, this seems like so much fun. It seems exotic. It seems exclusive. And including, you know, media portrayal and hockey games and commercials. So really bombarded from all, you know, all areas, but subliminally. It's not something that I don't think I thought a lot about at the time, but was just reinforced through messaging and our society as a whole. But that first kind of flirtation for me with booze was in the must have been 10th grade, and I started to ask my parents, because I began to become really curious about it. I had a number of friends in high school in my classes and stuff who kind of bragged about being wasted at this thing, and so started to test the waters with my parents and say, how much trouble would I be in if you caught me drinking? Kind of, you know. And I remember my dad
kind of like being proud of it, like I could be the troublemaker, the fun guy.
Yeah, like what's gonna happen? What's the worst that would happen? How serious is this?
So a lot of anticipation.
Like about.
It's like you're about to meet a
yeah,
good-looking girl or something. You're about to go on a cool date or something.
Totally, like, yeah, this is the concert.
So tell us the first time you drank.
The first time I got drunk was, to me, I remember the first thought so clearly was, why haven't I done this before? Like, holy shit, this is the best thing ever. Pardon my language.
Yeah. Was it that good?
It was. Where
were you then?
I was at my friend's house. His older friend, who somehow knows the family, bought it for us. It was some vodka mixed with orange pop. And, you know, they're getting a little loose and having fun, and we're being goofy, and we're, you know, young kids. But I was just glued to it. I said, like, I cannot believe
So like
this
love
feeling.
at first sight.
Incredible love at first sight.
Yeah.
A strong bond immediately. It was like, this is incredible. And that's the feeling that I guess is not normal for other people.
Yeah. Why do you think that was? Was it because of all the anticipation building up all that time?
It was a number of things. Anticipation being one of them.
Yeah.
The rebellion of it was another one. Being raised and, you know, continuing to be Catholic, it was, you know, very, especially at that age, that adolescent age where it's like you're rebelling against authority. And so not only was I rebelling against my parents, but I also had like an authority complex.
Yeah.
You know, I've learned so much from you with regards to, you know, why that is.
So fast forward in your 20s, what was that like?
In college, in my 20s, that reinforcement continued. Working in hospitality, partying at school. I was the guy that had the, you know, the townhouse off campus, and this became this like party hub of Christian school, university students that usually all live with their parents or in the dorms. But here we have this essentially a frat house.
So you were known as the cool, fun guy. Can you tell us a little bit about how alcohol was connected to your career? What was that like?
It was in business. I'm in business, and you know, when you're a young, early 20s something, there's this I don't know, romance behind being a jet-setting, hotel-staying business person, you know. And at 25, I had the opportunity of flying around the country for a job that in its own right was driven around alcohol, wining and dining. My boss at the time was a very heavy drinker, and even when I'd quit for a little bit, she'd kind of pressure me into it. You know, this is what we do as a team. So I had validation in my career because I was seemingly so important. I was making change. I was flying around the country with an incredible opportunity I wouldn't really have had at that age. But lonely nights in hotel rooms, what else am I going to do?
Right. So much for so much validation for young men, right? Especially having that reinforcement in career. And I think this is something that a lot of people struggle with. I drink, but yet I am doing great. I'm doing fine. I'm actually more than fine. I do excellent.
Yeah, I'm the best.
Yeah, I know. The best, yeah?
Yeah, I'm doing the best I've ever done. And life couldn't get any better than this. There's nothing wrong. You know, and it's...
So what, like work hard, play hard?
Work hard, play hard.
But did anyone notice the issue?
Nobody
or
noticed.
Was it more things looked good on the outside? It just you starting to unravel on the inside?
It was... I think some people say they noticed in hindsight because it's clear. I'd gained probably, you know, between the weight I was in high school and just 7 years later, like 50 pounds. You know, I was boisterous and fun, and I put on this big smile. So I think I did a good job of fooling people. But inside, I was just, to say it was dark, it's like I would wake up wearing a 50-pound jacket, and that jacket was depression. And I knew it was there from the moment I opened my eyes to when I closed them. And so I, for the first time, you know, I said, hey, you know what? I'm going to try to quit. I don't want to. I floated it to some people, and I was I was a regular at one of the bistro restaurants in town. All of my friends were there. I worked there. And I said, hey, I think I've got a problem.
How do people respond?
Denial. No, you don't. You don't have a problem. You don't have a problem. You're good. You know, it's maybe just cut back. Maybe just drink on weekends. And like there was this insistence by everybody that I shouldn't quit. I don't have an issue.
And so how about the last year or 6 months of that relationship with alcohol?
I had reached a point where I didn't want to live anymore. And I knew that, and I just wasn't going to be here much longer. And so that last year, the entirety of 2019, I went to treatment, and that's the year I quit, right? It was, I went to...
So in your mind, you didn't think that you would have a long life to live?
No, no, I didn't. Because every time I drank, it was a new thing. I was because I was depressed and thought about ending my life, and I really needed to detox. I was prescribed SSRI medication, which then presented some incredibly obvious side effects such as suicidal ideation, aggression, changes in behavior, textbook side effects, and then my dose was increased, and I just lost myself in this treatment thing, and I'd go to see the psychiatrist, and she'd add another one. It was just insane with how tumultuous it got. So as 2019 progressed, with this narrative that I'm going to be fixed, I'm properly medicated, and diagnosis XYZ or whatever, I kept having this insatiable desire to drink. It was unbreakable. At any opportunity I would. And I had no car anymore. My car was totaled. I had no place to live because my house was not complete because I couldn't. So I continued to live at my parents'. I was depressed about that. I was, continually trying to end my relationship. And, basically, you owe me behavior. I've had a taste of treatment, of, faith-based treatment, and I'm a religious person. I've had, completely 12-step, very strict-based treatment. I abnormally went to treatment 3 times in 1 year because I couldn't get it, and I kept going back. I kept disappointing my family and myself.
So how did that begin to end for you?
I think it started to be an acknowledgement of ego, 100%. It was, I had to realize how egotistical I was. And there's a difference, obviously, between competence and just self-centered personal will. They say self-will run riot. Like, there's a good saying from the big book. But that's what I was operating on. And if anything that I was doing, any hobby I had or career I had, was based around, the job title, the prestige of it, what people think of me, and the connections I'll make because of it. And it began to end for me when I recognized that I needed to kill that. And despite, being in treatment and having some friends in there that would say, like, dude, you need to, like, you don't really need to be here. Like, you're not that bad. Like, you're a smart guy. You can figure this out. And I believed that lie that I always have, that I was, I needed to be grandiose or special or something. And it took being the guy that relapsed at treatment and got kicked out, being the guy that finished the program and drank right after. And then everybody goes, oh my God, I can't believe Joseph did that. Like, he's the poster boy. And then I went and I had a beautiful faith kind of ceremony or it was just basically a prayer session with Dr. Namey in Ohio, who Dr. Aesam Namey is someone who my dad follows, and he had a healing service, a prayer service on my birthday, which is the same day that I turned 30. I don't really remember in between, but I was blacked out, and it resulted in the end eventually getting taken to the drunk tank. Sitting in the drunk tank, pondering, like, what's the deal here? Because I kept trying to fix it on my own. And then it was this moment of absolute surrender where I just said, like, okay, what do I do? I'm going to follow your will. I'm not going to try to do this on my own anymore. And I just truly surrendered my my ego, because I clearly wasn't the person I thought I was.
Right, yeah.
So
how did you begin that change process?
I think because of all those things at the same time, you know, so quickly, I can kind of equate it to working out. If I start working out, 2 weeks later, I'll see results. Like it's muscle memory. So I always thought like, oh, I can go back to who I was before. What's different this time? Everything. Like, you're done. Like, I didn't like booze anymore. I think that's a long-winded way of saying, I hated alcohol now. I had a lot of time to think about it in the drunk tank. You know, obviously I wasn't charged with anything, or it was just some drunk idiot, but I was that drunk idiot. And I hated alcohol. I hated what it did to me. I hated the isolation that it caused, the depression, the weight gain, the organ failure, the briefly being prescribed SSRIs, and you can just make a hell of a mess. And I did. Alcohol did. And I recognized it for what it was. So you had been there the whole time in between 2019, in between the treatments. I think the first time I saw you was around March.
Yeah, that's right. You remember that?
Yeah, I do, right? And it was just something, like my parents were researching, like, where did my son go? What do I do? So we started to have sessions, and even I knew they would work a little bit. But I wasn't fully in it yet. And to a point where I had to order alcohol. Like everywhere I was going, I had to have
I remember that the doorbell rang when you came in my office, and you told me, I have a gift delivered here. Yeah,
absolutely. I think I called him. I said, hey, make sure it's in a gift bag. And, I should have at least got something for you. And then you said, what is it? And I said, oh, it's alcohol. And you're like, I'm blind. You could have lied to me. I said, I'm like, I'm not going to do that.
Because I do remember, I think we saw each other probably for about 8 months, right? You were in treatment, you relapsed a few times. But we sort of focused on stabilizing, really, right? Not really anything too deep.
And then I booked a package with you, but I had just missed one. I had just missed one before I no-showed, and you said, I'm going to put you on a timeout. Like, if you really want it, wait a few weeks. And I remember thinking, like, on twofold. One, oh, woe is me, I just lost my job, and because I can't hold it together, and I don't have any friends left, and my engagement just ended, and my therapist just broke up with me. And I'm like, woe is me, for about 30 seconds, not even, before I realized, no, this is a turning point. Do you want this? It was that time where I said, you're doing it, like, everything is different, and it's not your choice. You just go with your purpose. What's your purpose now? Your purpose is to be, and I did a bunch of sessions with you immediately. Like, let's tackle this. And I said,
like, we specifically looked at the booze, right? It's not just other issues around your life, like your relationship, your family, how you saw yourself.
Absolutely. I think everybody in the world needs to go to therapy, counseling, or whatever you are going to, spiritual advisor, whatever it is, that sharing and that like decompressing, taking your messy filing cabinet and putting your thoughts into a pile. And so with EMDR, we honed in on the booze specifically, and I received the most overwhelming and clear breakthrough with you, with EMDR.
How do you know it was a breakthrough? Like, what
so
helped you to know?
With EMDR, there are as many brain rabbit holes you go down that you need to, and you're always like, wow, I didn't think I'd be there. When we were trying to figure out, or not trying to, we honed in on a specific experience with alcohol, and And I can describe the whole session to this very day in very clear detail. And to summarize, I was outside of this event that my family was at, and I had a vodka in the car that was, in a water bottle just in the car door.
Yeah.
And the whole time we're at this event, I'm thinking, like, I know it's there. I feel comfort that it's there. It's on the back of my mind. When can I go take a swig?
Yeah.
And I finally, people were kind of scattering and taking photos and going, getting up for a second. And I kind of made my way to the car. And during our EMDR session, I'm visualizing this, sun on my face, anticipation building. I've been thinking about it all day. My family's inside. All is well. And as I lifted this, warm bottle of vodka water that's sitting in my car, and took a drink, and it hit me pretty instantly, that warmth that goes through you. In this EMDR session, I acknowledged for the first time that nothing makes me feel this good. And I remember saying that to you, and I broke down, because it's the first time, because the term or the phrase "nothing makes me feel this good" or "feel this way" means nothing makes me feel more loved, more accepted, more euphoric, more comfortable. And I understood that to be a lie for the first time. And it was that visualized moment of this, and in hindsight, I can describe it so clearly, of when that rush hit me, when my face lit up, because, my body is responding to the alcohol inside of me, and I'm just exhilarated. Seeing it in an EMDR perspective, I recognize it for, like, the fallacy that it is. Like, what's happening to my body? It's not there for me. And it summed it up in such a punch that I knew it was a breakthrough. It just, from that moment on, I've never, ever, craved alcohol.
You were also using something else at home with your dad's help, right?
Yes, Dr. Jeff Harries, Canadian.
How do you spell his last name?
Harries is Harries. Jeff Harries. He is the founder of the Canadian Alcohol Use Disorder Society, and he has a protocol that is now being quite widespread. Shared is is prescriptions to help you with alcohol. So I took all of them throughout 2019. I tried, and Dr. Harries said, keep trying, one of them will work. He kept saying that to my dad. Don't worry, one of them will. I am absolutely blessed to have been able to have that, second degree of communication with Dr. Harries, who I've since been in touch with, and your help with the EMDR. It was life-changing to go back, the ability to visualize where you were, and that physiological response, the way that you guide the conversation and, reassign the emotion or detach the emotion from the memory on so many levels. So the medication...
So Dr. Harries helped on the physiological, neurological level.
Yes.
And my work with you helps you on the mental, emotional level.
100%. The drive, like, you can feel, if you're addicted to something, you can feel it when it's not there. That the pull within your chest for it. And EMDR severed that pull. It severed me thinking about it, romancing about it, or you thinking about it as an option to go to. Whereas, in addition to that, the medication from that protocol removed the chemical component of it. And further, I was, very fortunate just weeks before to be blessed by a very special person who's very famous, was on Dr. Oz and stuff. Dr. Isam Naimi and I met.
So is it like a spiritual level?
Absolutely. And
so you emotional, mental,
Yeah, physical,
physiological, yeah, spiritual.
and they're all required. Yeah, yeah.
Tell us more about your spirituality, you know, going through this journey. What's that been like?
You've got to have, and at least I had to have, a relationship with God again, but one that was real, one that wasn't just transactional or that I didn't understand just because how I was raised sitting in the pews of the church. It was a connection, and I've had some significant providential signs. You know, I keep saying, you know, reveal yourself to me, God. You know, and he did, like a couple times, and I just never could figure it out. The most obvious ones, and so I finally, I had a different relationship, not like a transactional, okay, God, my liver's failing, can you please help me quit alcohol? To what do you want me to do next? Like, what is your will for me? What should I be doing next? Not what do I want to do next? I still find myself here now. Anytime I start working off of what I want to do, there's a clear unease, and I'm in tune with it now because I'm fortunate to have learned about it. But.
And so your family was or has been a big part of this. I remember when, you know, before you stopped the alcohol, when you came here, you would be driven by your dad. He would be waiting in the car, or your brothers, or, you know, other people. How have the relationships with your family changed?
My relationship with my family before, they just completely lost hope. And my mom said to me the other day, at every point, if everybody had given up and just said, we cannot help Joseph anymore, one of them would say, but how about this? Let's try again. So they all did, and when I finally quit on December the 9th, I knew that there was a shift, but I knew that, like I said, what's your will for me, God? Like, what am I supposed to do next? And I knew, just get through Christmas. Have a good Christmas. Have a sober Christmas. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to become the CEO of SpaceX. I don't, just get through Christmas sober. So I did. We worked on that too. We talked about that.
Christmas, and then you wrote your exam.
So it was
just like I witnessed you going through different steps of your life, different stages. I remember you were sitting in my office, you know, saying that I feel like what words did you use? Basically, you didn't really like yourself at all, even at that time, even though you were already sober. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. So
how do you see yourself at that time when you sober?
First
few months, what was that like?
It was like, because I had proven to myself that I can do it, and I knew in my core that I had done it. Like I have the recipe to continue sobriety. You know, I was, you know, back on fire. I negotiated a hell of a job. Wrote the exam. I followed God's next steps, and after that continued, and I was feeling really good, and I was back in shape, and I had blood work, and all of my blood came optimal. Like my physical ramifications of that were nil. Shockingly, you know, I had burns on my body from my motorcycle. I have dislocated things. Nothing was really broken anymore. And I hated myself still, because I had still lost everybody. I still had lost my closest friends. The reason why my alcoholism progressed to the level that it did was to keep them around. You know, because that's what everybody does. They drink, they go fishing, they drink, they go to cabins, they drink. You go on ski trips, you drink. Go to the restaurant to be seen and drink. And when I had started to go through a difficult time, everybody left me. And I mean, almost like maybe one or two people out of like 30 that I considered to be very close. And so by the time I had been 6 months sober, you know, we have all these lockdowns still, but, you know, and I had reached out to most people just to see each other because we were allowed to. It wasn't crazy. Then I'd get no text back. I'd just get, sure, bud. You know, I made a few calls. And so I just decided then and there, with your help, you know, I kept, I had a natural propensity to base my value and my own self-worth on how people view me. And I started going down that hole again.
And that's the thing, right? Often we have this notion that once you quit drinking, everything will be good. And the moment that things are not good, that's when people would turn back to the alcohol or to the drugs, whatever that might be.
Absolutely.
So what stopped you from turning back? You know, when life at that time didn't turn out as it was promised.
Yeah.
How do you not turn back?
It's actually really something I've mentioned this a few times. I was living in a different town because I just got out of a really toxic relationship, and you know, I was sober for a few months, and I was making like double what I'd ever made. Had this nice like apartment thing on the beach. Really stark difference from 3 months before. And and it's kind of in a smaller town, and so their only grocery store is attached to the liquor store. It didn't cross my mind, not one time. Martinis were on Friday at the place I was working, and someone put one right on the desk, and I said, "Oh no, I don't drink anymore." That almost killed me. But to think I was only 3 or 4 months sober, with nobody around, place on the beach, the potential, like way more money, that nobody would ever know. But I broke up with the mistress. You know, alcohol was the sneaky mistress I'd go back to. When I'd married to sobriety, I always had alcohol that would be waiting for me when I was ready. And I ended that. And so there was no romance. There was no mistress that I would go have a sneaky time with, and nobody would never know.
Nobody would know, right? Joseph would still be the, you know, sober guy who finally beat it.
Exactly. Yeah,
but it wasn't even tempting to you.
No, and that's because of the EMDR we did right around the time, right specifically around the alcohol. The Jeff Harry's protocol, Dr. Jeff Harry's, my spiritual renewal, and the support of my family. And despite all that, you know, I still lacked that one missing piece of my friends. And it comes in time, you know. I'm grateful to have had all those things work out right around the same time.
Have you noticed any stigma? What's that been like?
I guess I had to accept that many people would look at me like, how long is he going to last this time? And if I believed it in the past when I couldn't get sober, that I was doing something like on a stretch, you know, like you're trying to beat a record, you're playing ping pong, and you're playing a video game and you get as far as you've ever been, but you're going to eventually die because it's a video game. That's not alcoholism. That's not alcohol use disorder. You can end it. But the stigma, the way people look at you, it's just like they don't know how to talk about it. And so people fear getting help because they fear, you know, the rejection that comes, because despite what people say that there's no stigma, people remain sick for their entire lives to avoid it.
So despite stigma, is sobriety really worth it for you?
100. Oh yeah, there's no question about that.
Why is it worth it for you?
Because I don't exist to have social prowess. I don't exist as a soul on this earth to be, you know, a popular, well-liked. Who cares? I've got great relationships now, and I'm, you know, fast forward to where I'm sitting right now. Many of those relationships have mended.
I understand that you've had, you know, great conversations with people outside of your family. Tell us more about that. What's that been like? Because one of the things that often I would hear from clients is drinking allows me to connect with people. And so when I don't drink, I can't connect. So tell us more about that. What's your connections been like as a sober person?
I could only say that they're authentic, and they're based around the individual that's in front of you, or the person on the other side of the phone, rather than an experience. And I think that, that's how I felt too. I had so much validation from alcohol. It created my social circle. Many people are friends with each other because of these parties that I would host, and I associated my value with the booze. So when that's all eliminated and you're forced to be in isolation, many people cannot climb out of that hole because, addiction is fueled by isolation and rejection. But, I have a big family and I have the support of you. And I always felt that, and if I needed to work something out, we would. And having all those other elements, it eliminated any need to be like more social with booze. It's a lie that society tells us from a very, very young age that alcohol, the substance that causes the most damage to our society from a driving perspective, a crime perspective, a marital dispute perspective, an abuse perspective, it is 100%, not 100, but it's exacerbated by alcohol by a stunning amount. And yet we promote it like it's the best thing we should do.
And for me, witnessing, I remember the first time I met you, and then I got an email from your mom saying, Joseph had to be in the hospital. That was scary, right? After the first time. Yeah, and so you went from that, being driven to here, couldn't make some appointments, to now you're so responsible, and actually we even talk about overly responsible. And we had to talk about scaling that back. Right?
It's like
balancing it so that you don't get back into that working too much.
Yeah, it's there's a few elements to it. I was, I believe, hijacked by the mental health system. I think it's broken. I think there's a very very important piece that goes with that. Psychiatry is a very important job, but the system that it is, the way that the government has it lined up, or whichever you think, if it's BC or if it's Alberta Health Services, who cares? You kind of get, it's like this vacuum, it sucks you in. And so every time I had got drunk on Zoloft, it was, obviously just textbook reaction to it, where I just would black out and I don't remember anything. So I would be forced to detox in the hospital, mandatory.
So what are you guided by now? What do you want, this next chapter of your life to be about?
It'd be about this, like these conversations with people. However, I'm in an industry that we don't talk about this because it's not what I do. But at any given moment, I'm there to share my experience with someone. I'm not a certified professional. But I think by letting people know, I have a good grasp, I think, of the science behind addiction now. I practice CBT, DBT, I stay in tune with myself. I pray. If I get stuck on an issue and I get overly angry about something too much and I can't solve that, I call you. If you have a repertoire, for success, it will continue and it will be effortless. I had a fairly significant injury, and at no point through the whole thing did I think, alcohol will make me feel better. It was actually searching for the meaning of what had happened, and like booze was never a thought.
Yeah.
which is just, I'm so blessed to be free of it. I can't even describe it other than,
It's like it sounds like your inside begins to fill up.
yeah, 100%. And
yeah, no more the need to fill up with alcohol anymore when you filling things up from the inside.
escapism, right?
Yeah.
You know, I don't need to go to a destination or escape. I find myself closer to my spirituality, to God, whoever is, you know, listening, and whoever's connected, maybe complete agnostic or atheist or whatever it is, whatever the greater purpose of your life is, and if you're guided by that purpose, regardless of denomination, but if you find a purpose, it will keep you sober. And my purpose is to share that anybody can get into it and anybody can get out of it. You know, addiction it's a sneaky, widely accepted, cheered on thing in our culture with no real solution. And people are all confused with what to do and rejected. But to let people know that they're not alone, that's the meaning of life to me.
Right.
You know, helping people that way.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Joseph, for sharing with us so candidly. It's such a special treat, you know, to hear from how it started for you and to the way you are now. And I think that the way you are now is the beginning of you becoming greater, you know. And I don't know how your life is going to turn out. I don't know what where it's going to take you on your path. But I think that if you continue this path where you're being true to yourself, where you really learn to get to know you from the inside out, you're gonna continue to be great and become even greater. No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. No, like, thank you. That really tremendously means a lot. And you know, for you to
just gotta keep going, though.
100%. It's all about going, and you know, for you to ask me to have this conversation here, it means so much because you know, it affirms what I want in my life, is to share the story and to just, you know, have people open up, and you know, if I can do it, you can do it. And not in a way like, here, bud, you got this. No, on a really normal human level. Like, let's just, we all got crap, let's just deal with it. So anyway, thank you so much for inviting me and being such a tremendous part of my recovery.
Thank you for being a part of, you know, my mission to empower people. So this is Quyn at Quyn Lê Therapy. I hope you enjoyed listening to Joseph's story, and I hope you learned some things from that story. As you can see, in order for a person to break free from addictions or alcohol, they need different things to help them, right? Spirituality, family, EMDR. In Joseph's case, there was the prescription that he used as well. And most importantly, his determination to stop that relationship, because no one can truly help anyone to change without that person's desire to. So if you have a great story that you want to share with others to help people learn and have better awareness, and you like to share that anonymously or publicly, I would love to hear from you. Or if you have great expertise as an expert in terms of mental health and well-being, I would love to hear from you as well. So I hope you enjoy this video. Please subscribe to my channel, Quyn Lê Therapy, and this will really gives me the motivation and encouragement to do more videos like these. So thank you for tuning in, and bye-bye.